So welcome to another journey of wellbeing, journey to wellbeing, choose your own adventure. Now, we've been running these for a while now. I love it because it's a great chance for us to really delve into each area of wellbeing. It is such a broad, thrown around word, wellness, well-being, health even, it's just so broad. And so we really love to be able to, in these sessions, bring it down to bite-sized chunks for you. And today, obviously, there's a lot of the girls, our crew here, Steffi, Kate says, and obviously myself is who are running these. Please feel free, Hey says, to jump into the chat and they will answer a lot of the questions for you so that I can keep going without making it a 2-hour webinar, which nobody's got time for. So they are your virtual cheerleaders. Whoa. Getting a bit trigger happy. So we're up to week 5, and this is all about energy and performance. So if you haven't met me before, I'm not Anna Richards, as it says. I am Alila Pinto. I'm also not a doctor. I am qualified in many areas of health as a health coach, a personal trainer, Pilates teacher, and nutrition, but I'm not a doctor. So what I'm talking about here is my experiences. I'm talking about those experiences of those around me. I'm talking about the science and the facts. And those of you who have been on a lot of these know that I don't bullshit around. I like to get straight to the point. So let's talk about energy and performance and kind of explain that and break it down, because again, it's kind of these buzzwords. So number one, energy is everything. Obviously, you guys know that. A lot of women that are on, maybe a lot of you guys watching the recording, it's how you operate day to day. It's literally everything. And anyone that's a new mum or a stressed out, woman will tell you that when your energy is low, it literally affects everything in your life. So bottom line, energy to me is everything. Performance, obviously, when we're talking performance in the gym, in your sport, but also in your life. What we're really going to kind of go into is a lot more of that, how to advance your training and things, and how this system can help with that. But of course, this is in all areas of your life. Obviously, if you can train harder, you can recover faster, then you can train again. That's literally the backbone to all performance. So for an athlete, it's about even that 1% better is the difference between winning or losing. And soon we're going to have my husband on, who is a sensei, which means he is 3-time black belt. He's Australian champ. He runs a few dojos and he has over 50 students. And he'll tell you this, 1% is the difference between getting knocked out or not. 1 second is the difference between that. So if you're able to become 1% better in your training, that is actually huge in many, many areas. So energy, how do we get it? What does it mean, right? It's a funny thing, isn't it? Because we talk about it so much, but it's just like, it's energy. What is energy? What is it? Where does it come from? So our bodies really gain energy mostly from food. If we're not thriving from our nutrients to give us the energy, then we're actually using up our stores. And this is where things like adrenal fatigue come into play, all sorts of basically the fatigues, chronic fatigue, adrenal fatigue, is because we start to rely on other things chronically to help our body to be energetic, to get any energy. So all 3 macronutrients are needed for energy, right? Like you'll hear everyone saying things like, oh, you just need protein, or you just need this. And it's not true. And I'll explain that a bit more. But all 3 macronutrients are needed. Obviously, micronutrients, if you've watched other weeks, you know that we're talking about the fact that both are vitally important. Micronutrients is those micros, those the nutrients in things. It's why an apple will always be better than an apple pie. So carbohydrate, obviously it's used for energy kind of instantly. It can be stored, however. So the body will store it, obviously. Our bodies were never designed to be eating as much as we do these days and to have food be so readily available. And so carbohydrate was a beautiful thing that we could use instantly and could be stored in the body to be used later. Now, if you've watched the weight loss week, you'll know that obviously that can be a bad thing, or it can be a great thing if you're obviously going to be using it down the track. It's why athletes will often have the big carby meal the night before, because it'll be stored and can be used as a reserve later. Protein, however, isn't stored in the body at all. It's used right away. So this is what they call the building blocks. right? So it's used into the muscles, into wherever it needs to be all the time. You can, however, have still too much protein, contrary to, you know, popular belief. And that can start to play havoc with things like kidneys, stuff like that. So you still, of course, need to be wary, and we'll go into how much protein you should be having. And then your fat is used in the cells. Your brain is made mostly of fat, so it goes there. And obviously hormones, we all know, well, I hope you all know how much hormones play a huge role in your energy. I mean, any woman will tell you that, right? Other things, water. Like, you know, 65-75% of our body is water. We need it. Sunshine, you tell anyone spending some time in the sunshine will obviously instantly give you the boost you need. That's got a lot to do with the vitamin D and certain things that it releases within the body. Stress, as we just spoke about, stress hormones, cortisol being a huge one that's obviously going to bring down your energy rather than up. And sleep, beautiful sleep, right? So performance. So obviously performance is to train at a higher level. You know, that's what we're talking about here. To be able to lift weights heavier, to be able to run faster. You know, performance is about being able to perform at your peak. We want to build leaner muscle mass as humans, really. We don't want to be building bulk muscle mass that's the result of unhealthy habits. And you can kind of see that in ex-bodybuilders. I'll tell you a funny story. So I worked for Women's Health and Fitness magazine and some bodybuilding magazines for a long time before I had my first daughter. I was in the magazine industry. And so I was around bodybuilders a lot because my clients, I looked after all the advertising, were all bodybuilding companies. So every protein supplement that you've seen out there, they were my clients. So I would travel around Australia, go meet with them. I've been in their labs. I've seen them make the stuff. It's disgusting. It looks no different to a drug lab, really, for what most are doing. I think things are finally starting to change. But you do see ex-bodybuilders, and they've created all this lean muscle and then all this kind of fat around that lean muscle, and their joints are in a world of hurt. You know, their bones are being put under incredible pressure. So that's what lean muscle mass we're talking about. It's being able to have the muscle mass without all the sort of extras, the extra layers around it. But obviously why that's important. So, you know, we over the age of 30 start to lose bone density, muscle mass, just naturally, as our bodies do. But that doesn't mean that that's what's going to happen to you. That just means that's just science. That's what's happening. But it means that we have to focus more on that. So it doesn't necessarily mean that we're sitting there lifting huge plates and weights. Whatever pressure you put on your muscle to begin with is incredible, and that's all you should do, because your body gets used to it as you level up and up and up. So if you've never lifted a weight before and then you just start with your own body weight, as let's just say for squats, then that is incredible, because your muscles are going to tear and build on that alone. It's obviously once your body gets used to that, you have to adapt and change and adapt and change and adapt and change, right? Which is why you're constantly lifting your weights up. And that's what we call performance, right? So starting out at level 1 does not mean lifting a weight like in this picture. And I want to make that really clear to people that have never kind of gone into this world before, or even those of you who have been out of it for a long time, you know, myself probably included in that. So that's obviously makes a massive difference to performance. If you build muscle, then you're able to burn fat at a faster rate, even though, of course, in this session, we're not talking about weight loss. It's important that we can create a kind of thermos of our body that helps to increase metabolism massively, and obviously the bone density. And really important, really important, because as I always say, you want to be in your 70s, healthy, fit, and mobile, and not having just punished your body in your 20s, 30s, 40s and be paying for it later. So these things are really important to help increase, like I said, your metabolism, get that furnace going. Okay, recovery. So anyone that's had a big training session knows the next day you're in pain. Most of the time that is lactic acid that's gone into the muscles. The faster that we can move that through the body, get it out, the better, right? The faster you're going to recover, the more likely you're going to get back into training. Obviously, when we are not, you know, moving that lactic acid, as anyone would have felt before, it's called DOMS, the delayed onset muscle soreness. I'm a day 2 person. A lot of people are day 1. after. A lot of people are right then and there and they start to get shaky and feel it straight away. But it's obviously really important to get that lactic acid moving and out of the body as soon as possible so you can get back into it. I'm just going to check your chat. Day 2, yeah. Who else is a day 2er? It's actually, I would prefer to be a day 1er, I think. So obviously recovering is going to be a lot to do with that nutrition that you have. You know, the more toxicity in the body at the end of the day, the more that's just going to swirl around the body, and you need to be removing that toxicity. And we're going to talk about that a little bit more. Yeah, definitely day 2. Everyone day 2. Isn't it funny? More women tend to be day 2. So sleeping better, obviously a huge part of recovery. If you can sleep better, again, while you're sleeping, all the magic is happening. We'll talk about that a bit more in a sec. The body and joint mobility, as I mentioned, and recovering faster, obviously, so that you can train again. So diet, nothing new here. This is the same thing that comes up time and time again. Real food from a plant, not made in a plant. Now, we spoke in one of the weeks about macros and why I'm not a huge fan of it. The reason for that is because the movement has kind of said, eat what you want. Have a Big Mac for lunch every day. It's 500 calories and 35 grams of protein. It's great. When obviously we know that the micronutrients make that not great. You know, it's not being used in the body where it needs to be. That's why real food looks like this. It's so colorful, and each of those micronutrients has a role and plays an incredible role. For example, carrots, the beta carotene, beta C, and it actually helps to open up the skin pores to allow more sunlight in. You have to go research it. It's more technical than the way I just explained it. But when you look at a carrot and it's that beautiful orange as well as the same color as the sun, and you're literally able to allow more melatonin to literally kind of give you a natural tan. And so every vegetable, fruit, and its coloring has such a vital role. Even having a look at the fruits, you can see that, right? The avocado with a seed in it looks like a pregnant woman. There's a reason that fats are important when you're pregnant. There's hidden messages in all of this, is what I'm trying to say. So your body needs that fuel. We spoke about that before. That energy literally is fuel, and it literally comes from the earth and the things we put back into our body to use. And I think it's really important to shift our mindset away from eating for pleasure, which was only ever meant to be on special occasions, to really eating for fuel most of the time. Your nutrition really does control everything, including your body weight. So keeping in mind, nutrition controls your body fat percentage. Your training will only ever control your shape, unless you're training at such a level that you're burning through everything really heavily. And I don't know too many people that do, except for one who I'm going to introduce in a second. And as you may have heard before, you cannot outrun a bad diet. You literally cannot. So the people that think that it's sort of what goes in, then you go for a run and make up for it, they work on different systems in the body. It's completely idiotic to think that one equals the other. So protein, how much do you need? So this is actually quite a controversial thing of late, but you need roughly 0.8 to 1.8 grams per kilo that you weigh, and you work that out. And that's what you would need per day. So 1.8 grams would obviously be if you were kind of wanting to really build lean muscle and that was your focus, you know. So I would say more, the average would be that 1.2 grams per kilo. Work that out, and you know roughly what that would then equate to. So something like, for example, a steak, just the first example I thought, is about 35 grams of protein. Something like a chicken breast is about 25, 28, depending on how much you're having, you know, so things like that. Obviously, to build more muscle, you need more. But that's obviously to build the muscle too. So people get really hung up on protein. It's important. It's a building block. You need it to build muscle. You can't build muscle without it. Of course, you can still tone areas, but you really need more of that protein to increase the muscle mass. You can overdo it though. Like I mentioned before, the kidneys will take a beating if you are pumping protein into you. This is why bodybuilders can often end up in all sorts of kidney stones and all sorts of issues. You can overdo it, and your guts need some support with that. And it obviously does need to be a variety and health conscious. I mean, I'm really hoping that we're turning the corner with the kind of whole chicken and broccoli life. And, you know, like I mentioned before about the magazines I used to work in, I know so many times they were eating 10, 20 eggs a day. Now, let's use common sense here, right? It's great to get protein from a variety of sources, and not overdo it in one area or not, because the body's not going to love that. So rest. I mean, I think this is a no-brainer now, right? 8 hours sleep a night minimum. People will say, I'm good, I thrive on 5 or 6, I'm fine. You're not. It may mean that you're great at using those adrenals to get you going, but the truth of the matter is you need rest. And the amount of times I've heard people say, oh, I could just sleep for days. You know, you could. And unfortunately, we're in such a high stress, on the go world that no one's allowing themselves that time. But truly, we were meant to kind of go into a winter of rest and back into a summer of being more active. I mean, the sun literally goes down now earlier to kind of tell us, go rest. It's time for you to kind of get into that mode now. And we need to listen to that a lot more. But also, while you're resting, the body builds muscle and it burns fat in your sleep, literally. So you need to rest for those things to happen. No sleep, no growth. I say this all the time. So fasting obviously is what you're doing overnight, every night. We obviously love in this system to extend that fasting out. And obviously there's so many reasons around that. Our next one is all about, our next webinar is all on fasting. So I really look forward to going to that deeper. But obviously as you're fasting, you're allowing the cells to have a really beautiful, deep cellular cleanse. And that's going to make a massive difference to recovery also, right? Because as you're cellular cleansing, you're releasing lactic acid and any of those toxins to allow your body to be in an alkaline state. So I put this here because I know, especially a lot of you mums that are on would know that hungover, tired feeling. Put your hands up if you know, like that feeling of that you feel so hungover, but you haven't had a drink, and it's just that you've had such interrupted sleep, right? And that is... You used to know, oh yeah, Sarah, you're good with sleep now. A lot of us still don't know it. And you are more likely, they've actually done the stats on this, you're about 40% more dirty carbs. I use that word dirty because obviously there's so many beautiful carbs in fruits and vegetables, and sugar when you're tired. So everyone knows that the more tired you are, the more you're reaching for things that aren't going to serve you, that aren't great fuel for you. So supplements, we're going to go into this a little bit more in a second, but I wanted to just plant the seed here that supplements to really help increase your energy and performance are things like creatine, glutamine, zinc, branch chain amino acids, and obviously protein. Now, a lot of marketing in the world will tell you that you need a gazillion more things than that. Now, I don't think that that's true, especially if you're not an athlete, because at the end of the day, what you need is to be able to build, repair those muscles, and keep your body and its immunity high, which is things like zinc and where that's important. But also I think that stress levels, you know, if you are already super stressed in your life, then going and doing a super stressful workout is actually not serving you at all. So it's really managing, and I haven't put it there because, you know, this is more energy and performance week, but managing stress levels, the adaptogens, and your gut health are key ones. So without further ado, I'm going to bring on the sisterhood dude, my husband. He's just going to pull up a chair, who is also, like I mentioned before, a sensei in martial arts and has been in it for 20, how many years?
Too long.
Too long.
Hey, everyone.
Pop into the chat and say g'day. I'll pop the chat up here for you. Hey, Pat.
Hey, awesome.
Jess says hi.
How cool. Oh, great to see everyone.
Justine.
Fantastic.
So what I wanted to do with Pat is have a little bit of a chat, because I think it's really important.
Oh, wow.
Some pictures of you. We have so many women, obviously, and it's important for the women. I think most of us know and preach to partners, boyfriends, husbands, guys at work, the importance of nutrition. But I think it's also, they can often have it come across like we're just trying to push onto them. And so I wanted to share his story because, like I said, Pat is training at that elite level, especially on a cardiovascular level, and being able to recover and get back in the dojo is super important. And also being able to fight at a level, you know, where you've got to keep up with the fight, you're getting hurt, all the rest of it. So what we'll do is go back to, I think, the very beginning, which was, we've been together 10 years next year, but the very beginning of my ISA journey was 5-6 years ago. And I remember Pat was training at the time for Japan, a fight in Japan. And when you would have these big fights, the next day your recovery was.
Yeah, I guess the hardest bit for me at that time was I was ending my fight career. So fight career lasted 15 years and nearly over 150 odd full contact karate fights, which means no shin pads, no gloves. So the trauma that the body had taken for that long had uh, left on a good note. So no injuries and very fortunate. But when the last Japan World Tournament was my last hurrah, that was my last full contact bout ever. And what had happened was I just started getting on the products. And what was happening to my body was more of a, because in karate, it's in my style, it's open weight. So I was 83, I weigh 83 to 85 kilos of just, conditioning and fortunate of, I didn't have to lift too many weights. But when you fight in world tournament, it's open weight. So I could fight a Russian that's 105 kilos of pure craziness to a Japanese 95 kg legend. And lo and behold, I fought a kid from Denmark who I thought, okay, well, this is no problem. This won't be a problem. But the speed of the kids back there, well, then he was 21, I was 35, I think 36. But when the products were starting to come in, we were just dabbling more on e-shots, because I would compete, and then if you win the fight, you then need your body. So you would warm up for 30 minutes, which would take a lot of energy and toll, and then you would need to compete for 3 minutes, and then if you won or if you drew, you would fight again. If you won, you had to find that energy back in the next hour.
Yeah.
And then again, you would have to get that level of adrenaline intensity energy back. And it was just too hard. But with an e-shot, it got me.
And that's all that there was at the time. So we're going to go into a few more products in a second. But I remember the first time Pat did a grading, while we were together, which is where you fight a lot of black belts, 50 black belts, one after another, to receive his second Dan, I think, at that time. And, recovery the next day was brutal. I mean, you would come back, you would have donuts, corn chips, a couple of beers.
It was a teaser.
And then the next day would be on the couch, literally kind of having showers and what we call the Kyokushin shuffle. So he would literally shuffle around the house like battered an old man, battered and bruised. And I, at the time, didn't think much of it. Obviously, Pat started to do, just for the guys, I think this is super important. He started to do a dinner to dinner cleanse. So rather than a full day, it was literally have dinner, have the Cleanse for Life before bed, Ura and Ionics before bed, nut. Yeah. He's never not had that. Then wake up in the morning, cleanse again in the morning, cleanse again in lunchtime, cleanse again afternoon, and then a shake to break the cleanse, and a dinner. And so that was really important, because for him, it wasn't about cutting weight at this time, like you just heard. It was about keeping the body literally healthy and in peak condition to go and go again. Because it's not just preparing himself for a fight and then coming home and recovering and laying in bed all day and going back again. He was going to a full-time job, 9 to 5. We had, 1 kid, then 2 kids, then 3 kids, up all night. So literally at a time when Pat just turned 40, at a time when he should have been worse, he actually started to get better. And there's never been a more clear and obvious, oh my God, these products freaking work, than that, because it wasn't,
I need to share something. And I knew I was going to be on. So, and more so for the ladies to put a firecracker up the hubby or the partner or the neighbor or the boyfriend, whatever. Yeah. What's happening here for the fellas, and I'll try not to make it all fellas, but in just giving you another angle, is we're naive. We are completely and utterly fucking naive and just absolute ignorant. And I've been in health and fitness for 20 years. My master was the so-called, champion coach, and he was, but nutrition, no. We were sipping down, this is my story that I'll share with you, that I tell my students, that to never make the mistake that I did, and to friends and clients and everyone else that talks to me. I would go at the end of training and have 2 Gatorade bottles
A bag of lollies.
A bag of lollies, and that was $10, guaranteed $10. 2 times a week, $20. So let's do $20 by 4 times. So $80 to $100 on shit, on sugar and shit that we were thinking, that I was thinking is cool. It's fine. It's the norm. It was terrible. It was just the worst thing. And I regret it to this day that I didn't have a push or someone at least give me some guidance to something. So with that being said, my body at that time was at a peak level without even being on quality products, without even, you were cooking amazing dinners for me, but it wasn't, again, to recover or to help me for the next session. It was just to get me through the freaking day.
Yeah.
And in just sharing the naive and stubbornness, I have elite fighters under my dojo, and I'm talking guys that are top 5 in Australia and top 20 in the world. And I just got them this year, late last year, on Amped. I just got them. And that's how tough it was, not to push the products to them, but for them to see me take it, for me to then train against them. And no, I'm not in a contact, so I can wear shin pads, gloves now, but I was getting through. And every Saturday at the start of every month, we do 50 rounds, 1-minute rounds, which is not at 100% contact. But my point is, these guys and that trust me. So your husbands and partners and male friends out there that even trust you, it takes time. My own goddamn students were looking at me, and I swear to this day that I keep telling them, do not do what I did. Do not put your body through the shit that I went through, thinking it's cool, thinking that it's awesome. And then, mind you, we would go out once a month and hit a slab of beer because we thought we trained hard and because we were, it was okay to do that. It's the worst thing. My master would put into our head that any beer that a bloke would have and that your training is worth 1 training session lost. So imagine what protein, the protein shakes, the Isopro, the Ionics, the Iso Delights now, which I just snuck one in before I came in, do for your body and for your well-being now. And I'm spewing that I didn't get a hold of this, but I'm fortunate that my fighters are on the Amp range now. And
we haven't gone into the products just yet, but you'll see the guys in this picture here who are just some of the fighters. There is old what's his name?
Nick's on the Amp. Nick's on the Amp range. Nick's on the
How
Amp
old is
range.
Nick?
65.
65, training like
He's a
machine beast. Look at him. And it's really important to know that these guys are all on the product.
All of them are, actually.
Yeah,
every single one of those guys. Yeah, but that was
and so I love it because they all, with guys, it is, and because there's all women, I think, on tonight, but there'll be a few guys watching the recording that, for you women to understand that it is so tough with the guys, even though you want to scream it down their throat. And I hope that Pat sharing some of his stories is enough for you guys to kind of share that as well. But then to look at a picture like this and be like, yeah, this isn't girly shake diet products. This is legit stuff. And Pat and I actually first met working in the magazine world. He was working with Martial Arts Magazine, so we both competed for most of the time clients that were in that health and wellness space. So we thought we knew a lot. I'm a personal trainer, I'm a Pilates teacher, you've got some, so we really thought we were kind of great at this, and we couldn't have been more wrong. We really couldn't have, because like I think I've said in every week of these, it's not enough anymore to just rely on protein from chicken and and your nutrients from broccoli. Like, not that that's what we're doing, but like, it's not enough anymore. You need that extra supplementation. And as you get older, as life gets more stressful, as you're trying to work a full-time job, run 2 dojos and 3 kids and deal with me, then it's constant. And so with those things, you're constantly needing. So before we let you go, I want to ask you a few questions. I know the answer to them, but they don't. So your number 1 can't live without product?
Ionics.
Ionics before bed. If you don't already do this, it's changed the game.
I'll share my story that I share with others. I've been sleep deprived because of our 3 magic kids for 8 years, 7-8 years. And sleep deprived means I wake up at 12, a tap on the shoulder at 2, a crying baby at 4, and to let the doll have her well-deserved rest and all the above. It's just been, it's been my first thing. I just get up, but it's affected me immensely. And so Ionics, definitely with the adaptogen side of it, had calmed everything down before I go to bed. I go to bed late, maybe 11:30 midnight. and then I'm up at 6 or 6:30. But it's the first thing I go to bed with, and now I'm taking it getting up
in the
because
morning. So Tara, the way that it works with Ionics before bed is to literally settle down for the day.
Yeah.
Brush your teeth, have a shot, go straight to bed. Oftentimes I'll text Pat and be like, when I'm in bed, and say, bring me a shot, and he literally brings a shot glass, and you knock it back, pop it down by the bedside table, and go to sleep. The key for that is obviously to allow your body to adapt into rest and not adapt back up. So you wouldn't have a shot at now, then go do work and things, because it's going to level your body up. It's also, Ionics has been known as the baby making juice because of the body's ability to adapt at night and to help balance hormones to allow yourself to have the baby. We've had 3 babies, so I'll let you maybe
do the math
on that. Number 1 product for your fighters.
It's a toss-up between nitro and during workout. And the nitro meaning, because I've got 2 that are like tradies, so they're flat out on the tools, and then they come to training absolutely zonked. And I've told them no more Red Bull, no more shit like that, and they're absolutely over the moon with that. Another Bickers is a mechanic, so they're very hands-on. And the during though is that's mine.
The BCAAs.
The BCAAs, the during ones, because it's an hour and a half, an hour and a half to 2 hours. And mind you, for me, I'm teaching. So it's 4 or 5 hours of continuous teaching and training. So that I need that. So that's the big one for me.
Yeah. All right. Do you guys have any questions for Pat before we let him go?
While you're thinking about questions, for any lads that are in a environment like mine, health, fitness, martial arts,
weekend warriors,
they can. I've got my social media pages where we get a handful of people a week that ask me some basic questions, but just get them to follow, and it's what Alila kind of does with some of the others, and it's who I follow also with Isogenics. And it's just a kick in the ass. It's literally that. And again, it's our stubbornness, it's our naive attitude towards thinking that we're doing everything
the
right
answers
because we feel well. But to be brutally honest, men's health at the minute is in the shit, and we're getting guided by certain platforms. But this one is just huge. This one is just it's got me through a lot of stuff on all levels. So, to anyone else out there, let me know. Get them to DM me. They don't need to reach out to you or your partner or whatever. Just get them to hit me up if that's easy.
So says, I'll answer your question. She says, what would you say to someone who's using Red Bull every day? Now, I actually worked for Red Bull for years.
Yeah.
So my answer would be actually brutally going into the ingredients listing, just taurine, things that your body doesn't need. It's really just, it's got as much caffeine as a coffee. So it's just having a coffee with some extra additives. Like it's not obviously
it's
your body.
Shit.
But Pat's answer would just be get off the fucking shit and stop being a dickhead.
No.
And that would probably be
if who's that?
Sarah saying.
Sarah, give the interpretation back to whoever that is and say what I say to my students. I go, okay, no worries. If I was to say to you that your awesome car that most of the lads pride themselves on, if I was to say the premium fuel or the premium oil is this, but go put something shit in it, would they go and do it? Would they go and do it? Shit, the first thing they'd go is, no way, I'm not putting that shit in my car. Well, don't put that shit in your body. And it makes people kind of go into that, I didn't think you'd answer it that way. And it's like, yeah, because
have you met me?
Someone's finally told you not to put shit in your body. Instead, you're fine if I told you to put it in your car or your lawnmower or your chainsaw. This shit ain't going to work. It's not going to be the same.
I love that. They were laughing. Preach. All right. You can stick around or you can go.
Yeah, you can't get me fired up like this and then have me go.
Oh my gosh. All right. So what we're going to do is actually go into what our system has.
I'll be on the wing here.
In it. Yeah. So obviously the key things for our system is protein, pre-workout hydration, BCAA, recovery. Now that's the ICE's system for energy and performance. I've added to that stress reduction and gut health because I believe that it doesn't do anyone any good to just add more stress to your body. And a workout is a stress, not to say a bad stress, but it is a stress on the body. And if you're already living in a full-on stress, sometimes that can be good. That can be punching bags and getting that energy out. For some women, that can literally be, you do not need to do that. You need to deep breathing yoga session. Again, that's why I talk a lot about listening to your body, and gut health, because I hope that by now you've got this into your head that you are not what you eat, you are what you absorb. And you're not absorbing anything if your gut isn't tickety boo. I don't think I've ever said tickety boo before. So let's go into some of these then. So Amped Nitro is obviously nitro pre-workout. It's, you know, they say gym motivation in powder form, but 100% it is if you've ever had it. You're talking about creatine, betaine, and cell hydration. So hydration is key, obviously. It's taurine, which is a naturally sourced caffeine. So when you brought up Red Bull has taurine in it, and caffeine, but then that's it. This has got your other creatine and things that you really need. So obviously it's going to increase energy, alertness, stamina. If you've had it before, you know that. It is informed sports certified, which means it's been given the approval in the sports. So that's why our NRL team.
Magnuson is all over this.
Yeah, the swimmer. Olympian,
you know, and there has to be, there's going to be more of this coming out.
Yeah. So obviously these athletes can have it. They know they're not going to get drug tested and into trouble. And that should say something to you, because the companies that we worked with, which will remain nameless, but freaking Masashi and all of them, they don't have that. They don't care to have that certification. They're literally just kind of making drugs and selling it in tubs at musclemanmania.com.
Mm-hmm.
So BCAA is my favorite, Pat's favorite, actually.
Yeah.
You said too? Yeah. The reason for that, obviously, your body needs branch chain amino acids in order to build and look after that muscle. So L-carnitine, glutamine. Glutamine is also incredible for gut healing. So think anything that's going to repair. So glutamine is going into repair the gut wall, but it's also obviously going into repair the muscles. This is what you would drink while you're training.
Yeah.
Now, I want to make it clear that these amped products you wouldn't really have if you were going for a walk, a yoga, a run even. We're talking more where the body's going to be under some form of stress. The reason for that is your body's just going to store it. It's not going to actually get used, and that we don't want anything stored in the body. We want to use it all. So this is going to help you burn fat, support your energy levels, you know, fatigue, all that sort of stuff. Repair is obviously your post.
This is good.
So this is obviously helping you boost recovery, repair muscles, reduce soreness, better joint health. So things like turmeric, beautiful, collagen peptides, so type 2, type 3 for my collagen buffs. That's, again, working with all things joint muscle repair. All these products, I pop that in there just for people to know, but you're talking all under 50 calories for each of them.
You brought up the running side, and for females though, and students that I've had with joints, I use the word, and it might sound severe to some, but trauma. The trauma of the joints is massive on running on concrete, running on, you know, the running track, and, you know, the hips is a big one. And all these factors come into it if you're doing it 2 times a week, 3 times a week, plus a Pilates, plus a yoga, plus, you know, yoga has a fair bit of trauma on the muscles and the joints as well. So, you know, stress is your word, but trauma also.
Yeah. And Jess, I love what you're saying, that you're using it while you're PTing, and your results, by the way, unbelievable. And you're right, and they are sweet, like a lot of these are. Some people like it as a shot. You know, I love it in a big water bottle.
Water it down.
You know, water it down.
Until
so
you
however you get it in your body is how you do. And then protein. So we know about our normal shakes, but it's important to know Isoline Pro. So instead of 25 grams in our normal shakes, the ones with the Pro at the end is giving you 35 grams. So obviously, or 36 actually. So getting more protein in your body is obviously more beneficial when you're trying to build lean muscle, but it's also just beneficial anyway, because if you go and calculate based on that lower level, that 0.8 grams per kilo of body weight that you need in the form of protein, you'll actually find for a lot of people, it's a lot. And for a lot of people, it's like, oh, I just feel like I don't want to be eating like tins of tuna and eggs and chicken and steak all the time.
You said it well one time. It just saves a lot of time, you know, especially the convenience for fellas. You know, we don't have, it's a shit way of saying it, time to cook or put you know, this on the whatever. This takes me I don't know, 3 seconds, you know. So I'm an advocate for that big time.
Also, an important thing to note is when you increase the protein, you tend to also increase, you know, like we said before, that kind of furnace in the body to burn fat. So if you find that you're at you ever hit a plateau with your weight loss, then Isoline Pro, replace your shakes with Pro for a bit, get more of that protein and get the body burning again. And then there's the blue tub there, IsoPro. So that is your straight protein, no, there's a couple of grams of carbohydrate, no grams of fat. So that's your straight up protein shake after the gym. Easy, knock it back. You can just, you know, pop that into a shaker and go. So really important for those. The difference, I was going to go into a huge thing, but I didn't want to push too much on time. But the biggest difference with our protein and others is we're talking grass-fed whey from the happy cows in New Zealand. We are talking, you know, it's constantly tested. We're talking the added vitamins. I mean, when you look at the back of a tub, how long is that list? Like, I wish I had one here to show, but it's the longest list of all the different vitamins. So it's leaps and bounds different to your muscleman.com shakes.
Yeah, and
which
to support that,
yeah.
ask a gentleman, a male, how their protein shake's going, and you'll get they're gassy. That's number one. I haven't been gassy since taking, and gassy means farting. And when that happens, it's not good. It's not good, which means their guts are out of whack, which is genuinely that. And headaches. Headaches come to blokes quickly with this sort of shit as well when you're taking too much protein and it's the wrong one. Yeah.
Thank you. So I want to hear from you guys what things you might have, but obviously if you're here on a recording, you know, go back to the person that sent you this. They are your biggest cheerleader, as we say each and every week, but they honestly are. Something in this has made them think about you. So go back to that person. And our next one is Tuesday the 27th, which is all about fasting. So we'll touch a little bit more on the different ways to fast in this system, but also talk about why fasting, and the fact that even as an athlete or even just as a mum, totally worlds apart in that sense, why we both love fasting in our own ways. So hit us up with any questions that you might have for Pat, or else give us a wave. You guys know I try to keep it under half an hour and I never do. So thank you, Says.
I'll say some things if people have any questions. If not, so well done. Good job to all you girls. I know this has been massive for Alila to push her vision and also her knowledge out to the masses a lot more than what she had, because you all have been fantastic in what's been happening. My side of the support towards Alila is I have a big passion to help men with their mental health / their the nutrition angle because of the system that we have. So if your husbands and partners or male figures are finding it challenging or have a moment where, you know, it's total stubbornness, it's total naive. It seriously is. I put my hand up to it, no problem at all. We think we are across it. We are most definitely not. And I feel a little bit embarrassed at times, having to sometimes ask Alila and her go, you know, look back into it, and you have to go back and again. But if you've got something to work with against another male figure, ask them how well and how much have they invested in their car in the past 12 months. I guarantee you the figure is in excess of $2,000 plus. So a couple of services, a couple of new tires, a couple of whatever it may be, and then ask them how much they've invested in themselves to get their headache clear, their clarity towards their gut, you know,
their energy,
and put them on the spot, or send them my way and I'll help you put them on the spot.
So everyone's saying thanks, you guys. Agree with Jess. Great to have a guy's perspective. Love that. And share that on. Thanks, Says. Thanks, Justin.
Awesome.
Awesome. All right, guys, we'll leave it at that. Thank you so much for being here, for your time and energy each and every week. And yeah, we'll see you on the 27th for all things fasting.